everyone. My name is Regina Fronteras, the Safety and Training Manager. Welcome to our December 2020 safety meeting. Now for a word from R.D. Huntley.
Hello and welcome to our December safety meeting in 2020. I hope all of you are having a Merry Christmas and enjoying your holidays with your family and friends. Along with that, I hope you're all staying healthy. 2020 has been a difficult year. I started off by calling it a year that needs to bring us into focus. But sadly, it became a year that got out of focus. We had school closures. Unfortunately, we had loss of drivers. There was staff changes, and there was just a general air of uncertainty the entire year. As we get into 2021, some of those uncertainties remain, but yet we seem a little bit more hopeful that things will improve as the year goes along. Now, there have been, at the forefront of everything we've done this year is COVID-19. That's going to continue into next year. We need to continue doing the things we know are socially responsible and personally responsible to keep ourselves as healthy as possible. That will include wearing masks, social distancing, and certainly staying away from people you know are sick. So do your part as we start into this next year, and please, please stay healthy. Now, there are some things that we're going to be doing going into 2021 that we must maintain for the school district and for our own purposes. Top of that list is going to be seating charts. We have to make sure those are accurate and correct. They are used for tracing when there are problems in the school, and they help us to maintain enforcement on the bus too when kids know the responsibility of sitting where they're supposed to sit. So enforce those seating charts. You also, one of the things with seating charts, if possible on your bus, keep that seat behind you empty. That protects you a little bit more and gives you a little bit of that social distancing from kids that are there. Some of the other things that we need to do is on an operational side, there's going to be some changes. One of those changes is DBRs are coming back. Now, I hear a moan out there for that, but actually that's a good thing because that also indicates that at some point, and again, I emphasize at some point, time clocks will be reinstalled and we'll be able to get back to our older systems and how we checked in and checked out. In the meantime, the new DBR will be used and turned in on a daily basis. And we will go ahead and continue that process as we prepare for the eventual installation of new time clocks. Again, next year, masks are going to be required on your bus. Also, an enforcement policy is to enforce kids to wear masks. It's just an item that needs to happen. So guys, seating charts and masks continue moving forward. Now, one of the big announcements for the coming year is our new operations manager. His name is Paul Gomez. He will be coming to us from Long Beach, California, where he's been operating a facility there, but is a Midwest guy. And he's looking forward to getting back to someplace with 4 seasons because he's getting tired of the boring California weather. Well, all of us right now would probably take that California weather, but he can come up here and enjoy our snow. So I'm now going to turn it over to our safety group and let them start discussing some of the things that actually related to safety as we look forward into 2021. So again, happy holidays. I'll see you in January 4th.
Welcome to the beautiful Boise, Idaho. With that beautiful Boise, Idaho, also comes some beautiful weather. Adverse weather conditions are upon us. Yes, winter is here. We're going to talk today about some adverse weather conditions and what we can do to make sure that we and our passengers are safe while we're out on the roadway. Winter adverse weather conditions. With adverse weather conditions can bring colder temperatures. Colder temperatures can bring snow and icy conditions out on the roadway. It could even bring freezing fog, dense visibility, rain, or even wind. As a professional school bus transporter, we need to make sure that we are prepared for these type of adverse weather conditions. We're going to go over some things today that may help us while we're out on the roadway to be that safe professional driver. LLLC, adverse conditions. Who remembers what the LLLC stands for? In your defensive driving course, we talked about look ahead, look around, leave room, and communicate. We're going to go over some of these today so we can make sure that we are doing what we need to do as that professional driver to be safe out there in these adverse weather conditions. Look ahead. Increase your lead time. You should be looking at least 15 seconds, a block, a quarter of a mile ahead of you. In adverse weather conditions, you need to increase that lead time so you're able to slow down and stop. You don't want to become part of that hazard ahead of you. You want to identify the potential hazards in advance to avoid becoming part of the problem. You want to avoid being involved in an accident, making contact with a fixed object because you've slid into it. How about look around? Why should you be looking around? You're going straight ahead. You need to be aware of your surroundings. Remember, on icy surfaces, vehicles may not be able to stop when they want to, and that includes you. If you're approaching a stop sign or a yellow light, you need to slow down ahead and give yourself enough time to slow down and make that stop without sliding into the intersection or into another vehicle that has already stopped. Another thing to remember are students around the bus may slip and fall. In these adverse weather conditions, you need to know what's going on around you, even at a student stop when your vehicle is stopped, or at a school. When you are there and the vehicle is shut down, you still need to know what's going on around you outside of that vehicle. What if a student that is excited to go home is running up to that bus and slips and falls? They could fall into the bus or even underneath that bus. Be aware of your surroundings. Check, and check your mirrors at the loading and unloading zones. Even when you're unloading students at their stop or at school, when those students are getting off of that bus, be aware of where they're at. When you stop that vehicle, don't stop it in an area where there might be ice or a puddle of water. A little puddle of water on these cold mornings or afternoons could actually be an icy surface for these students stepping off into that area. Make sure that we're putting them in a nice, safe area. If you have to, get out of the bus before they do and sweep off an area of snow. Give them that contact right on the concrete. Leave room. What do we mean by that? Not your seatbelt, but we're talking about driving conditions. We want you to slow down and increase your following distance. This is going to give you more room to react and stay in control of your vehicle. You are the operator of that vehicle. To leave room, you need a minimum of 4 seconds. 4 seconds of following distance. In adverse weather conditions, you may need to increase that following distance up to 6, 7, or even 8 seconds, depending on the roadway. Increase your stopping distance. Why is that so important? You're a big vehicle, you're heavier, you can stop. Well, you can't stop on a dime, and you can't stop really quick when you're out on that icy and snowy surface. So start slowing down ahead of time. Let your foot off of the accelerator. Prepare to make a stop. Make nice, easy, slow adjustments. In the snow and ice, sudden movements is a danger to you. Make nice, slow movements, and that increase your stopping distance. So we've gone over look ahead, look around, leave room. What is the C for? Communicate. Exactly. Communicate. Well, people ask, well, how does a bus communicate? Well, there's many ways that you can communicate to others out there while you're in that school bus. Activate your student lights just a little bit earlier. You can activate them up to 600 feet before you get to a stop if necessary, or a railroad crossing. So take a look ahead. See what's going on. If there's a lot of traffic coming the other direction, or traffic around behind you, and there's icy, snowy conditions, or the wind or the rain may be really heavy, or even in the fog, the dense visibility, increase the time that you activate those student lights. Activate them earlier. It's okay to do that. All you're doing is warning the people around you that you're about to make a stop. That also helps them look around to see if there are students that are walking into the roadway to prepare for that driver. You can even activate your directional signals earlier and even have them on a little bit longer if needed. Preparing to change lanes? Please, always use your turn signals. Let it blink a couple of times or even 3 times before you change lanes, because you've got to make that lane change a little bit slower on those icy and snowy roadways. When you're preparing to make a right-hand turn or a left-hand turn, let the people around you know that you intend to make a turn. Activate those directional signals earlier. Tap your brake when you're preparing to stop or approaching a railroad crossing. These are good things to do even when there's not adverse weather conditions out there. How much more so when there is these type of conditions? Now let's watch together and see what happened to this bus.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us all morning long. The roads were all we could talk about. The icy conditions made travel difficult for most and darn right impossible for some. And it's this school bus video showing it slowly slide sideways down the road that is going viral. Sharon, you spoke with the man who captured it about this bizarre sight.
Among the things you don't want to see on your commute, this.
I couldn't get up a small hill on Highway County Road 4. So I parked there for a bit trying to figure out which way I was going to go. Was I going to jump over the boulevard or do anything like that? And that's when I saw this bus coming down Eden Prairie Road heading towards Highway 5.
What Neil Marriott captured on video on his way back from attempting to go into work shows a school bus sliding down a hill sideways.
I have my phone mounted in my car for hands-free use. So I grabbed that and just started filming the bus coming down there, and then at one point I thought the bus was going to hit me.
Marriott says he was able to get out of the way by easing over to the next lane, but the moment he can't forget is when he made eye contact with the bus driver.
She wasn't smiling, but she waved, so I didn't know what to do, so I started to bring my hand up and wave, and we both kind of had that moment of what are we going to do? She was helpless to do anything, and I was just kind of kept filming her.
Eden Prairie police say students were on the bus, but no one was injured. A parent confirmed with Carol Levin that the Chaska-Chanhassen Combined High School girls hockey team was on board and was on their way to a game before all of this happened. Marriott says despite more than a dozen winters here, this is his first time witnessing anything like this.
We've been here for 21 years now. It's the first time I saw a bus coming down sideways, almost towards me.
In Eden Prairie, Sharon Yu, KARE 11 News.
Wow. And that parent, get this, that parent told us that the girls ended up showing up for their game, but their opposing team never showed up because they too got stuck on icy roads. Figure that.
Whew, that was a little scary, wasn't it? I wouldn't want to have been that driver in that bus. So, now we're going to talk about some things in the yard. Winter reminders. How many have seen those cords out there that we use to plug in our buses? How many have seen them look like this? Out on the ground, not rolled up? Make sure you roll up and hang up those power cords. They don't need to be on the ground. They don't need to be left out there to be a trip hazard for somebody or even yourself. What about the de-icer bottles? Those should not be out, they shouldn't be in your buses. Make sure that once you use them, you hang them back out there where they belong. You cannot have them in your buses. There's a few other things we need to talk to you about. I sure hope we don't get so bad that we have our buses in our lot look like this, but just some things that you do need to be aware of. Make sure that you clean off those windows. The windows need to be clear so you can see what's going on outside. The windshield needs to be completely cleaned off, not just the driver's side, but the entire windshield. Not just right in front of you and just a small portion of the other side by the service door. Both sides need to be completely cleared of ice or snow. The service door. Yes, the service door is important to have those windows cleaned off as well. That's where we're going to see students. You're going to need to clean the top and the bottom if you have glass that's divided. The entire area there needs to be cleaned off also. Is it important to have the driver's window cleaned off? You better believe it is. You've got to have that window cleaned off also. The back window? Why is it important to have the back windows clean? I'm not looking back there. You need to know what's going on behind you. When you're stopped at a railroad crossing, you need to know what's going on around the entire bus, including what's coming up behind you in the back. Those windows also need to be cleaned off. Your mirrors? Yes, it's important to have all your exterior mirrors cleaned off. If you have snow and ice on the interior mirror, oh, we've got a problem. And I think we're going to have to talk to shop about that. Or you're going to have to remember to close your driver's door or windows or service door. Hopefully you don't have that problem on the inside of your bus. But all those windows or mirrors, on the outside of the bus, yes, they need to be cleaned off. Please don't think, oh, I'm just going to turn on my defroster or my mirror heaters and that's going to take care of it all, and I'll just go on down the roadway and, oh, it'll be cleared off by the time I get to my first stop. Hello? Between the yard and your first stop, there's a lot of potential hazards between point A to point B. Be sure that you clear off your windshield, your windows, your mirrors. That's important. What about the right front seat window? What do I mean by that? Well, by the service door, the first window behind that service door should also be cleaned off. You say, well, that's ridiculous, Regina. Why am I going to do that? It's important to have that window cleaned off when you are looking over your shoulder, getting ready to prepare to leave from a student stop. You need to see out of that window for any students that could possibly be running up to your bus before you even get ready to move. Part of clearing for student stops. And we'll go over that a little bit later in the year. But student stops are very dangerous, and it's very important that you do your scanning as you have been trained to do so before you leave. And having your windows cleaned off and your windshield cleaned and your mirrors cleaned off is a vital part of that adverse weather condition preparation before you get on the roadway. It's time. Yes, it's time to pick up your cleats. With the adverse weather conditions upon us, that's going to bring the snow and ice in the parking lot and in the lot, period. So it's time to pick up your cleats. If you have not done so, please stop by and get those cleats picked up and checked out. Thank you very much. The flag may be flying, and no, this isn't a black and white racing flag. This is a warning flag. Proceed with caution when you see this flag. When it is out posted at the front gate, it is a warning that the ground surfaces may be icy and slippery. When you see this flag, you need to wear your cleats while you're outside on the grounds. Snow and ice cleats. Watch for that caution flag at the front gate. When you see that flag, yes, when you see it out, the cleats are mandatory outdoors on the grounds. Do not wear the cleats inside the building or in your buses. Do not wear cleats while driving. Prepare yourself for winter.
Cold weather brings snow, ice, and many slip, trip, and fall hazards. During winter, walking anywhere outside demands extra attention to avoid slipping and falling. No matter how well the snow and ice is removed from parking lots or how much salt has been thrown down, there are still going to be some slippery surfaces every time you walk outside. Here are 9 ways to prevent cold weather slips and falls. 1. Remain constantly aware of the potential dangers. Don't become a victim. 2. During cold weather conditions, approach every outdoor surface with caution and expect them to be hazardous. 3. Learn how to walk safely on ice and other slick, slippery surfaces. For example, on slick surfaces, slow down and take smaller steps. Short steps or shuffling increases stability. Keep your hands out of your pockets and wear gloves. Hands in your pockets while walking decreases your center of gravity and your balance, and you can help break your fall if your hands are free. Gloves will serve to protect your hands if you do fall. 4. Avoid wearing regular shoes outside. Instead, wear shoes, shoe covers, or boots that provide traction on snow and ice. 5. Use special care when entering and exiting your car in the parking lot. As you step into or out of a vehicle, it causes a sideways force on your outside foot. If that foot is on an icy surface, it can slip out from under you. Get a firm grip on the vehicle for support. 6. When you are entering or exiting vehicles like SUVs or trucks, always use 3 points of contact. 7. Walk in designated walkways as much as possible. Taking shortcuts over snow piles and other frozen areas can be hazardous. 8. Check the path ahead. Snow or ice-covered sidewalks and driveways, inclined pathways, and blacktop surfaces may require travel along the edge for traction. 9. Approach every snow-covered surface with caution. If you cannot see what's under the snow, proceed with extreme caution. Could be a hole or a bunch of broken concrete. We call surfaces like these ankle breakers. Worse, it might be a sheet of snow-covered ice. There are few things more slippery. Remember these 9 defenses. Don't let cold weather get you down. Frigid temperatures bring health hazards like frostbite and hypothermia, but one of the most frequently overlooked cold weather hazards is dehydration. When it's hot out, it's common to get thirsty, but when it's very cold, people don't feel as thirsty, so they drink less, and this can lead to dehydration. See that vapor when you're breathing? That's your body losing water. All the extra clothing you need makes you work harder and you sweat just as much as if it's a warm summer day. But if it's cold and you're sweating, that sweat evaporates quickly in the cold, dry air, and you don't feel as warm. To put it simply, your body doesn't realize how much fluid it's actually losing. Your body's automatic responses react differently in cold weather. To maintain your body's core temperature, blood vessels nearest the skin contract, a process called vasoconstriction. This is an automatic response to help conserve body heat and bodily fluids. But it also causes your body to reduce your thirst sensation. When your thirst sensation drops, you don't get the necessary stimulation to drink as much as you should, and that leads to dehydration. Research on animals shows that they have the same decreased thirst sensation in cold weather that humans do. Dogs experience vasoconstriction and dehydration, but they instinctively drink back all the fluid they have lost. Unfortunately, we humans don't share the same instinct, so we have to remind ourselves that we need to drink just as much fluid, no matter whether it's hot or cold, and we especially need to drink extra fluids when we are exercising or working outdoors. Dehydration causes many problems, and the more dehydrated you are, the worse it affects you. Physical exhaustion and muscle fatigue are common reactions to dehydration. Cramps, dizziness, and lightheadedness can follow. Severe dehydration can lead to a loss of balance and coordination and even a stroke. Dehydration makes your immune system work overtime, which makes you more susceptible to colds and the flu. How do you make sure you are drinking enough? One of the best ways is to check the color of your urine output. The darker it is, the more you need to hydrate. Normally, it should be light yellow or almost clear. A good rule of thumb to follow is to drink at least half your body weight in fluid ounces. For example, a 180-pound person should drink at least 90 ounces of fluid a day and more if they are working hard or exercising. A natural way to increase your fluid intake is by eating fruits and vegetables. Don't let cold weather's hidden hazards fool you. Stay hydrated. Preventing cold weather injuries is both a leadership as well as a personal responsibility. Cold exposure can cause multiple injuries. The key to working safely starts with an understanding of cold weather injuries and the ways to prevent them. Here are some of the most common cold weather injuries with tips on how to prevent them. Chilblains is a cold injury resulting from repeated, prolonged skin exposure to cold and wet temperatures above freezing. Exposed skin becomes red, tender, hot to the touch, and usually accompanied with itching. This can worsen to an aching, pins and needles sensation, followed by numbness. Chilblains can develop in exposed skin in only a few hours. The most commonly affected areas are the ears, nose, fingers, and toes. Immersion foot, also called trench foot, is an injury caused by prolonged exposure to wet conditions between 32 and 60 degrees with damp socks and boots. Immersing feet in cold water, not changing socks frequently, poor hygiene, and allowing sweat to accumulate in boots or gloves will soften the skin, cause tissue loss, and can lead to infection. Blood vessels constrict and the affected areas become cold, swollen, and discolored. There can be sensations of pins and needles, numbness, and pain. In extreme cases, flesh dies and amputation may be necessary. Frostnip is when the top layers of skin tissue freeze. It is the first degree of frostbite. Frostnip usually results from short duration exposure to cold air or contact with cold objects like metal. Exposed skin, like cheeks, ears, fingers, and wrists, are more likely to develop frostnip. The top layer of frozen skin becomes white and feels hard and rubbery, but the deeper tissue is still soft. The affected area feels numb and may become swollen. Frozen skin thaws quickly, becoming red and painful with eventual peeling of the skin. Complete healing can take 10 days, but the injury is usually reversible. Frostbite occurs when skin tissue freezes through all skin layers. It can freeze the muscle and bone. Frozen skin turns red, then gray-blue with blisters, and in worst cases the skin dies and turns blue-black. At this stage, amputation is often required. Instantaneous frostbite can occur when the skin comes in contact with supercooled liquids like lubricants, fuels, antifreeze, and alcohol, all of which remain liquid to temperatures as low as -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Hypothermia is a potentially life-threatening condition that is defined as the general cooling of the body core temperature below 95 degrees. Normal body temperature is 98.6. Hypothermia sets in when the body heat lost exceeds the body's heat production due to prolonged cold exposure. Although hypothermia is usually associated with cold climates, it can occur at temperatures well above freezing, especially when a person is exposed to extended wet conditions. Signs and symptoms of hypothermia change as the body temperature falls. Mental functions typically decline first, including an inability to make decisions, slurred speech, disorientation, incoherence, irrationality, and unconsciousness. Muscle functions deteriorate with shivering, loss of fine motor ability, such as being unable to control your hands, followed by stumbling, clumsiness, and falling. In severe cases, shivering ceases and the victim becomes stiff and unable to move. Pulse and respiration rates decrease, causing unconsciousness, irregular heartbeat, and death. Unfortunately, early signs and symptoms of hypothermia can be difficult to recognize and may easily go undetected. Dehydration is a lack of water in the body, and most people associate dehydration with hot weather conditions. However, it is very easy to become dehydrated in cold weather, and many individuals fail to drink enough liquid and underestimate fluid loss from sweating. For more, see our video on winter's hidden hazard. What risk factors contribute to cold injuries? These include temperature, wind, rain, immersion and altitude, workload, duration of cold and/or wet exposure. Individual risk factors include physical fitness, fatigue, general health, prior history of cold injury, medications, alcohol, nicotine, and poor nutrition. Anyone working in a cold environment must be properly prepared and should understand basic control measures to prevent cold weather injuries. Keep your body warm. Keep moving by exercising the big muscles of your arms and legs to keep warm. Avoid alcohol because it impairs your body's ability to shiver and it gives a false sense of warmth. Avoid tobacco products because they decrease blood circulation to the skin. Eat properly to maintain energy. Drink water or other fluids to prevent dehydration. Drinking warm liquids like tea and hot chocolate that contain sugar provides energy to help the body generate additional heat. Limit the amount of time outside on extremely cold days. Periodically move into a warm area. Wear proper clothing, several layers of loose clothing rather than one or two bulky layers. Air is trapped between these layers and acts as insulation against the cold. The layers can be removed if you become too hot to prevent sweating. Loose clothing allows the blood to circulate to the extremities. Ensure all clothing is in good condition, clean and dry, and change wet, damp clothes immediately. Protect your feet. Carry an extra pair of socks and change damp socks right away. Use foot powder to help absorb moisture. Wear water-resistant boots or overshoes to keep shoes and socks clean and dry. Protect your hands. Wear insulated gloves. Keep gloves clean and dry. Change damp gloves immediately. Avoid skin contact with snow, ice, or any liquids or bare metals that have been exposed to the cold. Protect your head, face, and ears. Wear a hat. As much as 70% or more of the body's heat is lost through an uncovered head. Exercise facial muscles often to help maintain circulation. Above all, protect each other. Watch for signs of frostbite and other cold weather injuries in your coworkers and immediately get help for anyone showing any sign or symptom of cold injury. In this short video, we will show you something most people don't realize about what causes us to trip and fall and how to avoid this dangerous hazard. Slips, trips, and falls constitute the majority of general industry accidents and result in back injuries, strains and sprains, contusions, and fractures. A trip happens when your foot or lower leg hits an object and stops, but your upper body continues moving, resulting in loss of balance. But first, let's understand one very important thing that we all have in common. Can you tell what it is? When a person takes a step, their foot comes off the ground about half an inch before it steps back down again. Therefore, anything that sticks up a half inch or more can cause you to trip, and then your momentum can cause you to fall. If you're lucky, you'll walk away with a few bumps and bruises, but for the not so lucky, falls result in 15% of all accidental deaths and are second only to motor vehicles as a cause of fatalities. What did you trip over the last time you fell? People tend to trip over things that we see all the time but don't normally notice. Things like a slightly curled up edge of a carpet or mat, extension cords, uneven walking surfaces like cracks in sidewalks or other walking surfaces, thresholds in doorways, tools, even those cute little pets snoozing in doorways cause hundreds of falls every day. Can you spot the trip hazards in this photo? Here's one where the surface changes elevation about an inch, and another change in elevation. Would you see this one? And two more changes in elevation, each more than half an inch. Anywhere you see a crack in a walking surface lurks a potential trip hazard. This is a joint in the sidewalk. Hard to see, but the difference here is almost 3/4 of an inch, more than enough to cause a fall. But can you see the other hazard? Here, almost invisible, but the crack should be enough to warn you. The elevation here changes only slightly, but enough to cause a hazard. We can get so used to hazards we forget they're there. This one was painted yellow, but it's been scuffed over so many times it's getting harder to see. A common type of hazard is any area where one type of walking surface ends and another begins, like where carpeting meets tile, or the edge of a parking lot. Sharp, unexpected changes in elevation are particularly dangerous. This one's much bigger than half an inch. A warning could save a terrible injury or even a life, maybe your own. A simple door threshold sticks up enough to trip anyone walking in or out. Hazards hide in plain sight, especially if the lighting is bad or if we are doing something that blocks our vision. Pay attention. If you're walking and texting, reading, daydreaming, or doing anything other than not paying attention to where your feet are going, you might as well be walking blindfolded because your eyes are not working for you, they're distracted. You can avoid injury because tripping and falling is preventable. Keep in mind that it's the little things we don't normally look for that can hurt us the most. As you're walking today, how many trip hazards can you spot? At work, at home, in the parking lot, or wherever you go. Remember, it only takes half an inch to change your day for the worse. Use your eyes and be aware of those little trip hazards as you walk. Thanks for watching and have a safe day. If you truly believe that safety is important in your work, at home, or anywhere else, there is no place for these two phrases, safety first and safety is our number one priority. To do a job safely, our goal is to complete it without accident or injury. But the slogans safety first and safety is our priority will not help us achieve this goal. The danger in making safety a priority rests within the reality that priorities get reshuffled throughout the day. When we're under pressure to complete a job, we may find that safety first can easily become safety second, safety third, or moved so far down the list that we end up taking ridiculous risks that result in accidents. Your employer is not in business to make you be safe or to keep you safe. There's no doubt that they want you to go home safe and healthy every day, but the company's priorities revolve around different goals, just as your goal is to make money in the form of a paycheck. Slogans like safety first and safety is our priority discourage personal responsibility because safety begins and ends with you. Is it reasonable to think that someone would hire you to do a job and then tell you that nothing is more important to them than your personal safety? Of course not. All sorts of jobs, ranging from easy and relatively safe to difficult and dangerous, are done by people who are willing to assume risk. It is true that your employer does not want you to get hurt. It's bad for business, it's bad for the customers, and it's bad for the bottom line. No one wants their employees to get hurt. Therefore, most workplaces have some safety policies and procedures, all with your safety in mind. But they cannot force you to make safety first or to make it the priority in everything you do. The employer isn't your parent and you're not a child. The key to safety is personal responsibility. Hazards and various degrees of risk from hazards are everywhere, and they cannot be completely eliminated. On the other hand, hazards can be known and they can be understood. Every task you do has to be approached with varying levels of hazard awareness. You can look for and understand the hazards in every job, or you can ignore them. Your job can be approached with care or with a lack of care for safety. All of that is going to be up to you. Don't rely on cute little phrases to make you safe. Rely on yourself. Remember, the key to safety is personal responsibility. Thanks for watching and have a safe day.
Well, that was a lot to take in. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for our December 2020 safety meeting. And remember, safety begins with you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from all of us here at Cascade Student Transportation. Thank you so very much for everything that you do. We appreciate you.